The abundant large woman represents her nurturing, her authority, her containment, her capacity to love, her sense of entitlement, and her role in the world and in society. And she is confident, and she is entitled, and she is contained. And she comes out of the creature and out of the bones. So she is deeply connected to her instinctual nature. And she's deeply connected to her intuition, which guides her always. And then what happens? She moves into society where she is faced with a huge number of influences and introjects which she inhales and consumes like beliefs. All the good, bad, right, wrong, should, shouldn't, can, cannot, must, mustn't, do, don't, which starts influencing her and divorcing her from the sense of freedom and entitlement, which really was her birthright. And so when she looks at the smorgasbord of choices of life, she responds to what beckons to her. Just like a huge smorgasbord of food, she'll look and she'll say, gee, that rare roast beef looks fantastic. I think I'll have that. Or maybe today I'll have the smoked salmon. And even when she consumes it, there's still some sort of emptiness, because you can't get enough of what you don't really want. What the question is for Our Lady is to see a big red stop sign first in front of her that says stop, and instead of looking outwards, look inwards and say to yourself, what am I hungry for? What am I really hungry for? Not only what's on offer. Maybe I need some time by myself. Maybe I need to be with an old friend who I haven't seen for a while. Maybe it's not the extra trip. Maybe it's not another present. Maybe it's not another call of duty. Can I start connecting with what am I hungry for? And how do I start believing that I'm entitled to, at least in part, have my needs met without destroying the other and being the nurturing woman that I was designed to be at the same time? Now, what we know is that people who feel good about themselves produce good results. And we've been talking about how do we get our society, starting from our youth, to produce the good results that we need in this country and that is sustainable. And what I'm saying is that there's a huge emphasis on the education and on the services and on our government and on business. But I think the part that is missing is that you first have to look at the receptivity of the children or of the society in accepting and embracing and engaging in what we're offering them. And how do we focus on helping people feel good about themselves, knowing that if they do, the good results are much more likely to follow than the other way around. We are very results orientated. But if you're not open and look at what it is that people need, what is the success psyche that will respond to the input that we're all talking about, sometimes it might fall on deaf ears because you can't use it. Or sometimes you're being too strangled by your own psychic ropes, or by what's happening in your personal life, or by your view of yourself. So we need to start just a little bit better. And because of the shortness of the time, I want to just show you that under the realm of what is now called, Freud said, by the way, that healthy, successful people really have three characteristics. They all have someone to love, something to do, some meaning or purpose in life, and something to look forward to, which is to do with hope. However bad things are today, there's kind of a bit of an optimistic worldview. Today we talk a lot about emotional intelligence. There are meters of books about it. And there are only three things that I just want to highlight, because one can talk about this really for days. In order for people to feel good about themselves, to produce the good results. The first thing fall under the elm of intrapersonal skills, where what we say today is, instead of the old adage of get your feelings out of the equation, you can't make a good rational decision because you're too emotional. What we say is recognize your feelings. They're God-given little messages for you for a purpose. What are you feeling? What triggers the feeling and why? And how can you handle those feelings intelligently so they don't creep up unexpectedly and hijack you? And very often in our society, this is what happens. We have two questionable labels. We're known as the road rage capital of the world. Great. We're also known, I think we're still known, as one of the highest incidences of family murders in the world. Now, how do you think that happens? There are actually only 5 basic emotions. I'm going to show them to you very quickly. They're sad, mad, glad, fear, surprise. That's all. All the other things that you can feel are derivatives of one of those. And in our society, because of the nature of our society and other societies, but we're talking about our society, we have learned in a gender-based way not to deal and recognize those emotions appropriately. Cowboys don't cry, so they can't be sad. They're never vulnerable, not in front of their horses anyway. So what happens is, if you feel dismissed, if you feel disregarded, if you feel emasculated, if you've had an incident, if you feel unrecognized, a lot of men aren't going to phone up their friend and saying, I'm having a bad hair day, come over for a chat. Sometimes those feelings get turned into mad feelings. And you might be out on the road and someone cuts in front of you just one more time and you take them out. But it wasn't for that day. It was for the other times that you didn't have either the recognition or the capacity to either ask for support and help or even recognize what you're feeling. When it comes to women, vulnerable feelings are much more accepted than angry feelings. So you can phone your friend, hopefully, you can talk, you can ask for support. But to be able to express yourself boldly with assertiveness sometimes gets confused with aggression. My friend Wendy was talking about that just now. We need to be bolder, she was saying. Women certainly do. So there are all kinds of realms of feelings. And then what happens is that the women are the ones with the very long memories. Sometimes it's a tiny thing that happens, just a small thing, and then, and whoever you're with turns around to you and says, geez, you're overreacting. Are you crazy? Do you like hospital food because that's where you're going? I mean, what's wrong with you? You know, and actually it's because you've written, scripted, directed, and starred in your own movie. Your partner might not know what you're talking about. But for you, it's, do you remember that time 5 years ago, 4 months and 3 hours ago, when you this, and this, and this, because you never had the sense of entitlement or the capacity to recognize and deal with the feeling appropriately at the time, so there's build-up. So one of the things to help people feel good about themselves, to produce good results, is to deal with the feelings. One of my friends who knows that I'm talking to her was telling me about the plight of a huge group of people who's still carrying the wounds and the legacy of the struggle. They have nightmares. They are not reaching their full potential because there are things that are blocking them that they're still unable to share or unable to talk about.